Hi, welcome back to the Primal Lifestyle. And today we've got something a bit different. We've got a newbie, someone that's only been doing the carnivore for a short period of time. So, for anyone watching this that's thinking about it or just starting, this could be the interview for you. So, allow me to introduce the fabulous Dawn. Hi, Dawn.
Hi. Thank you for having me on, by the way. I really appreciate that.
No problem. So, Dawn, tell us why you've ended up on carnivore. What's your story before and your reasons why?
Well, it's funny because I really didn't know much about carnivore. I mean, I've heard about it, but it was one of those, to me, it was one of those really weird, trendy diets. And which is funny because I've tried every other diet, every other diet. I mean, you name it, I've tried it, right? But for some reason, the carnivore diet just never clicked with me. And then one day, I am anemic, extremely anemic. And last year, my hemoglobin went down to 6.2. And from what I understand, you need to be 12 or above is normal. If you get down to 9, that's concerning. 7 is leukemic, and I was 6.2. So I was really
Wow.
low on iron. And I had gone to the ER, I had to get a blood transfusion. They wanted to keep me there, but at the time I was a caregiver. My sister lived with me, and I was the only one to look after her. So I couldn't. There was no way I could stay in the hospital. So I told him I'd go see my primary as soon as, I could, and I did. I went to see her, and all she did, this is so funny. This would have been a perfect opportunity for her to suggest the carnivore diet, right? Eat more red meat, and it has iron in
Yeah.
it. But I had told her, "Oh, I don't eat a lot of red meat. I just, because I always thought, I associated red meat with, heart problems and gout and just, bad things." So yeah, I went to see my primary doctor after, I left the hospital, and instead of telling me, to eat more red meat, she told me that cereals nowadays are fortified with iron. So that's a great way to get your iron, is just to eat cereals. So that's what I did. I was eating cereal for breakfast and lunch and sometimes even dinner, and spinach. And so nothing happened. I wasn't getting any better. I was doing this for months. And then she also had me on double iron pills, just trying to bring it up, and it wasn't working. I still felt terrible. And one day, a client of mine, his mother told me about the carnivore diet. And at first, I was really skeptical. Like I said, I associated red meat with all kinds of bad things, but I was feeling so bad. I needed to do something different. So I thought, you know what? I've done everything else. Why not give this a try? How terrible can it be? I'm not kidding. I hit the ground running and I haven't looked back. That first week that I started just eating meat, well, I didn't go 100% meat. I still was having my coffee in the morning, and I would have maybe a half an avocado with my steak or a few Brussels sprouts. But I pretty much was eating, red meat. I did that the first week. Right away, right away, things were happening. And one of the best things about the carnivore diet, and I tell everybody this, is it's not a diet. You will not feel deprived. I was never hungry. I never The only problem with me personally is I was a sugar addict, a carb addict, and so I had to kick that addiction, and the meat helped me do that, because whenever I was hungry, I would eat bacon, I would, fry up a steak, so I was never hungry, and after that first week, already I was seeing a difference. I didn't go on it for weight loss initially. I went on it just to feel better, to get my iron up, and, just to feel better, because
Yeah.
when you're low in iron and stuff, I was having headaches every morning, terrible headaches. I was dizzy. I was weak. Sleeping was terrible. No energy, super fatigued. I mean, all the time. All I could think about was going back to bed from the minute I woke up. Just felt horrible all the time, and like The Walking Dead. And like I said, within the first week, the changes were miraculous. I was sleeping better. I started having energy. The dizzy spells were gone. I was waking up without a headache. And then by the second week, the inflammation, I had a lot of inflammation in my joints, my knees, my hips, my shoulders. And the first thing I had to do every morning was take Tylenol with my coffee. That was a given. But within the second
Yeah.
week, I started losing the inflammation. I didn't have any pain, and that was odd to me because I had had a knee injury that had been causing me a lot of issues. I thought I was eventually going to have surgery on it. I would wake up at night and put an ice bag on it. It hurt so bad. And I would walk with I say a hiking stick. I didn't want to use a cane because that was for old ladies. And I thought a hiking stick was more athletic or cool. So I used a hiking stick. But anyway, because I did like to go walking. And all of a sudden, I mean, I didn't even think about it. It was just the pain was gone. And I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe it's just a fluke. It was just this day or something. But then the next day, it happened again. And the next day, and the next day. And, after a week, I realized the pain is gone. I literally have no pain anywhere in my body. And that right there, if nothing else had changed, I would have still continued doing it because that was so amazing to me just to be pain free. I mean, I almost want to cry when I think about it because I was in so much pain for so long. But anyway, so that was just within the first 2 weeks, those things are happening. So I continued on doing it. And after that, I noticed, my energy's getting better and better. I'm getting by on less sleep. When I wake up, I feel refreshed, energetic. My anxiety was gone. My mood swings, because you get depressed when you don't feel good and you're not sleeping, you tend to get
Mm.
depressed. At first, I even called it the happy diet because it was like I was feeling happy all the time. I was waking up happy. And I thought, my God, how do people not know about this? This is amazing to me. And so, yeah, then 4 weeks and 5 weeks pass, and I notice I'm losing weight. And I hadn't even done this originally to lose weight, although I needed to. That wasn't my main objective. I needed to feel good before anything else. And then when I would get on the scale and the scale was going down, and like I said, I didn't feel like I was dieting because I didn't feel deprived in any way, because I ate whenever. I didn't count calories, I didn't count carbs. I just ate meat whenever I was hungry. And yeah, the weight
Mm.
was coming off. And I just, little things were happening. Because, if you watch the carnivore channels, everybody will tell you about all these little things that start happening. And I was like, oh my God, that's happening. Like I had dry skin, especially around my scalp, and I had dry patches on my arms and stuff. They were gone. I had I had a leaky eye. I don't know if you've ever heard of leaky eye syndrome, but I had one eye that leaked all the time. I always had to carry around tissue and my sinus would drain, and I thought it had to be allergies or something. It's gone. And now I think it must have been related to the inflammation. Inflammation causes a lot of issues that we're not even aware of.
Yep.
And so, yeah. So
Yep. That's very true. Yeah.
I know it's crazy.
So you obviously you obviously had some great results really first off. So people starting to watch this in terms of considering it or starting on the carnivore, quite often, including myself, they get the keto flu or whatever that is. So you had none of that at all. Do you think it's because you balanced it, or did you have any days or issues with that?
I did. I did, and I expected it because I had done the Dr. Atkins, that low carb diet years ago, and I had gotten that at that time too. So, and I knew that this was basically a low carb diet. And so I kind of expected it, although every channel that you watch, people tell you, to look after your electrolytes and to take like that LMNT, and they were promoting all that. And I thought, oh, I don't need that. I'll make sure I take in enough sodium, salt, whatever. I'll be fine, because I was using a little more salt, but salt and sodium aren't necessarily the same thing, which I found out. But yeah, I think it was about the fourth week that I got the keto flu. And I just was like, I even went on my channel. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I just felt weird. I don't like this. My energy was down again, and I was feeling kind of nauseous, like I had the flu. And then it was like, duh, that's what it is. It's the keto flu. And so I told my friend who did carnivore, and I said, I don't want to really order the LMNT because it's kind of pricey, and I just don't know. And she goes, oh, no, no. She goes, you can use this stuff called Keto Chow. It's way cheaper and it works just as well. So I went online, I looked it up, I bought it, and yeah, within a couple days I was back to normal. But it wasn't as bad as the first time I got it when with Dr. Atkins. I mean, it wiped me out back then. This time I was a little bit more aware of it. And like I said, I tried to use more salt and stuff, but you need magnesium, you need potassium. So I did have to supplement that, but just a little bit. You put that in your drink, and I haven't had any issues since then. So yeah, I highly recommend doing that because that's not fun. But I know a lot of people don't. They don't even have to worry about it. So it just was because of the way I was eating. I wasn't, eating what I should, I guess. I'm learning. I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm still a newbie. And there are some things that I've needed to tweak. Thank God for George. George has been, if the carnivore diet was like being in, AA, George would be my sponsor because whenever I have a question or I'm having any downtime, all I got to do is ask him, and he knows what to do. So he's been so helpful for me. I really appreciate that. The whole carnivore community is that way. They have been
Yeah.
absolutely amazing from day one. You guys are a
Well,
different breed.
yeah, so talking about George, I call him the puppet master because he seems to pull all the strings around the carnivore communities.
He
He's
does.
a brilliant guy. So I did
Just love
a
him.
follow up with him recently.
Yeah. I watched the interview. Yeah, he's been absolutely amazing. And he's turned me on to different channels and different carnivores. And every single one has been so kind, so informative, and that's been a huge benefit. That's a huge plus because you don't find that with other diets or eating programs. They're even combative within their own groups and very judgmental, and you got to do this, this, and this. But with the carnivore diet, nobody has been that way. Not one person has said, oh, well, you're not supposed to be doing that. They suggest that, if you're not seeing the results you want, you might want to try doing this or that. But everybody's been very, laid back about it. They just want to be helpful because, like we said, they know how wonderful it is and they've seen the results for themselves and they just want to share that with other people. And I appreciate that. And that's, basically what
Yeah.
everybody's been doing. It's been so helpful. And like I said, now I'm 9 weeks in. And when I first started this, I kept saying, I call myself a ketovore, but I guess if you're eating more than 70% of your calories in meat, you're a carnivore. But most carnivores, from what I see, strictly eat meat, salt, and water. And some are even a little more extreme. They do the lion's diet and all that. But because I do still drink coffee, I still will have an avocado occasionally, like a half an avocado, and I have pork rinds. I just thought I'm ketovore. I refer to myself as ketovore. But at the beginning, I said, I don't know if I would ever even go for full carnivore. I don't see the need for it. But now that I've been into it for a while, I think I might, just because the results just doing this have been so tremendous. I'd like to see what would happen if I did actually take it up a notch.
Interesting points there because I've always said a number of times on this channel there are no carnivore police. So there are
Right.
some carnivores that do get a little bit preachy and no, this is carnivore, this is not. For example, avocado is fat. It's natural fat. So if you want to have an avocado, have an avocado. If you want to have a coffee, have a coffee. Because what you're really doing is you're reducing the carbs. You're being low carb and you've got whatever variety. The reason I changed the channel name from the Carnivore Nation to the Primal Lifestyle is because I didn't want to get boxed down into a certain area. So, what you're doing, you're spot on. So a question I've got for you, and it's partly because George has tipped me off, but especially with Halloween around the corner, and with your channel name being the Resting Witch Face, I mean, from what I understand, you're a green witch. So would you like to explain to people that are not aware what a green witch is?
Sure, sure. I'm an herbalist. I have a degree as an herbalist and in holistic medicine. And so, I practice, I make medicinal potions and oils and lotions and tinctures and all that kind of good stuff. And I don't practice witchcraft. I do believe in magic, but I think we create our own magic. And I like candles and I set my intentions and that type of thing. And I've been very fortunate. But I would say I'm a good witch. All my intentions are good. And I try to give a little history about witches on my channel because we're not like we're portrayed in the movies, like in The Wizard of Oz. We don't all wear, black and fly around on broomsticks. And but really, if you look at the
Yeah.
history of witches, you'll find out that the majority of the women that were put to death during the Salem witch trials were just women that practice herbal medicine and midwives. And they were what was considered a witch. So, we all have this notion of what,
Uh,
witches are, these evil old ladies that, curse people and hex people, but that's kind of a folklore that's not really true.
And in those days, you can't win because they would drown you. If you drowned, you wasn't a witch, but if you survived drowning, they burnt you at the stake because you was a witch, so you couldn't win which way you went.
Isn't it crazy? I know
Incredible.
if you really read about that stuff,
Yeah.
it's kind of, it was sad because these were all just, you know, wonderful ladies that were trying to help neighbors and friends, who couldn't afford doctors and, midwives helping deliver babies. And God forbid if something happened to the mother or the baby while you were delivering it, obviously you were a witch. So you got put to death. So yeah, it's really sad to look at. But like I said, because of the movies and fairy tales and stuff, people have a notion that, witches are these evil, ugly old hags that do terrible, terrible things. But we're just, you could be your neighbor, it's just people that believe in, positive energy and Mother Nature you know, and yeah, basically a lot of us are loners. I'm a loner, except for my family. I like to be around my family. So, and then, like the carnivore diet was very contradictory to my personal beliefs because, I'm an herbalist. So I believe in plant based
Mm.
things. And as far as doing a vegetarian or vegan diet, that was way up there. I thought that was the way to go. I tried it years ago, had no luck with it, didn't feel any better. As a matter of fact, I gained a few pounds because, I was vegetables aren't filling. So I was eating more carbohydrates and pastas and rice. And yeah, I felt terrible on it. And so it's funny because now when I post things about the carnivores and stuff, the vegans are the ones that come on to attack. They get so offended. And I try
Yeah.
to be neutral. I try to say, I don't want to, if they're doing a vegan diet and it's working for them and they feel as good as I feel doing the carnivore diet, then keep doing it. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying that I tried it. It did nothing for me. And now I'm on the carnivore diet and it has been miraculous. So, and that's all I'm saying. But they insist
Well,
that no, you've got to eat fruits and vegetables. And, even though nowadays, like we all know, the fruits and vegetables that they're growing now that you're buying in the supermarket, they're not the same that they were 50 years ago. They're just candy. They've made them sweeter and they look better, but the nutrient value has gone way down. They say you would have
mm,
to eat 8 oranges now to equal the same nutrient in one orange 50 years ago. So yeah, you're
that's
not getting,
shocking, isn't it?
isn't it? And yet they still, and we know that all those studies that tell you that that's the way to eat, the food pyramid and all that, that was funded by big pharma and the food industry to get us to eat more grains. And they know that, but yet they still will
Mm.
fight you and tell you, nope, meat's bad. I've seen the studies. And it's like, yeah, the same studies that told us to eat grains. I mean, come on, are you going to pick and
Who's
choose?
sponsored by Kellogg's, by the way? That study was sponsored by Kellogg's. No conflict of interest there then.
No, no. But they just, I think because they've done it for so long that they just, they have to defend it. But, and like we were saying just a while back, when you're feeling good and you're healthy and, you're happy, you're kinder. They don't seem very happy. Most of the vegans that come on my channel anyway, they're just like they're angry and they want to take it out on me. And it's like, I'm not going to battle you. If that's what you want to do it. We all have the freedom to choose our own diet, but I'm going to be 63 this next month and my health is
No way.
and my health is extremely important to me. I want to live till I'm 100 and I can't see that happening on the traditional American diet. So I had to make a
No.
change and my gosh, I just, and I call it the fountain of youth because every carnivore that I've seen, you guys all look so much younger than you are. You act younger and it's like there's something to this. there's a magic to,
Definitely.
yeah, there's something to it. So,
Well, I've just turned 58, and a lot of funny enough, I walk my dog, and someone thought I was early 40s, so I was
oh
well
yeah,
chuffed. I gave her a big hug after that.
I
So
didn't realize you were that.
yeah,
Yeah, Mike. See everybody, and I
yeah.
watch these channels, and they'll tell, they'll finally say how old they are. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, I think there's the
Have you
collagen in the meat.
have you seen Alex, another English carnivore, the carnivore for life? He's older than you, and he looks younger than me.
Oh,
He is
yeah, yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh my god. Yeah, he was one of the first ones I seen, and I was like, "No way. No way is that
Yeah.
guy." What is he, 65 or something? I was like, "He's retired?"
It goes to show, so that yes, I agree with there's something definitely in it, and there's a few explainer videos I've done on my channel about big pharma and big business and ultra processed foods, and when vegans come on to me, I'm happy to debate with them. You're right, they normally come on aggressive, but that's the nature of they seem to be. However, as I explained to them, I'm all for single ingredient food rather than processed and ultra processed food. So if they want to go down the salad and the vegetables, no issue with that. That's their choice. And if that's what works for them, great. For me, like you, I went vegan for about 4 months. Yes, I lost a bit of weight, but I was hungry constantly. I was grumpy as hell, apparently. The carnivore was just the perfect. We're all our own chemistry labs. We're our own individual chemistry labs, and what works for you and me might not work for someone else. And it's all about trying it and sampling it. So
Right. Well, I don't know if you've heard this. I watched some of the carnivore doctors, and there's a lot of doctors that will back this up. It's not just one or two. But anyway, I think it's Dr. Cyves. It's Cywes.
size, yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, he's just got so much amazing information. But he was saying that it has something to do with our gut biome. And that depending on
mm,
how you were brought up, you can be brought up in the same household, but
mm,
depending on whether on your birth, if you were a natural vaginal childbirth or if you were breastfed, what you were fed growing up, the vaccinations you've had, traveling abroad, if you've been exposed to different diseases, all of this affects your natural
mm,
gut biome. And when you go on a diet, depending on how your gut biome is, it's going to affect the way it works for you. So you might go on an omnivore diet and it might work very well for you, whereas
mm,
somebody else like me could go on it and have not the same results. So this is something
mm,
fairly new that they're learning, because people all assume that there's only one diet and that we should all be doing it. But I have had friends that say they've tried the carnivore diet, and because of the antihistamines or something, that it has caused them issues. Now they still want to do it, but they're going to have to find a way to tweak it so it'll work for them. And I think that's with any diet. You, like I said, with the carnivore diet, it's mainly an elimination diet. You're cutting out everything else. You're cutting out the sugars and the carbs and the junk and the bad foods, the franken foods that they're creating. You're just eating one ingredient foods, maybe two, salt, and, you can't go wrong with that. And by eliminating all this other stuff, you're just eating meat. And then after a while, when you're feeling good, and if you don't have any other issues, you've gotten rid of all your ailments, which is what usually happens, and you're losing weight. Then if you want to add back in other things, do it one thing at a time and see how it affects you. And if there's no problem, yeah, then maybe you can add in something else like a fruit or a vegetable, whatever. And I'm not there yet. I'm still I've eliminated all the bad stuff, except for just recently, I was saying how I do drink coffee,
mm.
but I put a lot of cream in my coffee, and I found a sweetened creamer that only has, it says less than one carb, but it still has those sugar substitutes. And I know
Yeah.
those aren't good for you. And I think that's having an impact on my weight loss, because it has slowed down. But I know, after you lose so much weight, it does slow down. So I'm not expecting to lose, 5 pounds a week, but it's like at a snail's crawl right now. I mean, originally when I went on it, I dropped 20 pounds like nothing. I was like, this is incredible. I mean, it just fell off. And I was
Yeah.
exercising. I wasn't doing anything. And like I said, I wasn't hungry, but then after that initial weight loss, I kind of hit a plateau, and it's, leveled off to where, I'll go a whole week without losing anything. And then the next week I'll get on the scale and I'll drop 2 pounds. So somebody suggested that I might cut out the coffee creamer. So
Yep.
I'll try that.
Well, there's two things there. One from my experience and from the various people I've interviewed, the weight loss side of it is the men benefits far quicker and sooner, but I think it's because of they tend to hold more weight, where ladies' bodies bios, your weight is not necessarily around the middle, it's thighs, legs, all the various other areas. And I think that's part of it. With regards to your sweetener bit, and I read quite recently in one of the papers that I've been doing some studying on, if you have a false sweetener that's low no carb, that's fine. But what it will do, your body will trigger insulin because it thinks it's getting sugar. So the insulin is released. So any fats you've got in your body at the time is being put into storage because that's what insulin creates. And that's probably why when you're having the sweetener, your weight loss is slowing up because your body's being told to store feast and famine the whole scenario because it's expecting sugars because of the sweetness in your taste. Your body's triggered all the various hormones to release the insulin. So that is why that's probably interfering. I mean, as a paper I've read, it's not my diagnosis, and I'm not a doctor to diagnose, but from what I've read, that kind of fits what you're saying.
Right. I think you're right. And you know what? I'm going to buckle down this week, and I'm going to cut it out just to see, because it's the only thing that I am eating that has a sweet taste to it. Cause I don't, nothing else. And I'm going to see, I can do that. I can buckle down. And if I notice that I lose weight after that, then that's what it is. So that's my pledge. I'm going to try that this week. I'm just going to not do it, because I was getting to the point where I was drinking 2 cups a day, and I've never done that. I'm a 1 cup a day person. I just need it in the morning. It's just the ritual of waking up and having a cup of coffee. And I like, a little bit of sweetener in it. But then I started noticing, because I'm not eating anything else with sugar, that I would have a cup in the afternoon, iced coffee with the sweetener in it. So I think, it was my way of, having a little bit of something, something. And so now I'm drinking two. And that's when I noticed the weight loss slowed down considerably. So yeah, I think you're right. So I'm going to put that to the test this week, and hopefully I'll notice a difference.
So you've mentioned previously, and I've mentioned in some of your posts I've seen on your channel, that you're a sugar addict. And now you're, as you say, you're fairly newbie into it. And I always say people really find out the true story after about 90 days because by then your body's done all the adjustments and it's got into its routine, it's become fat adapted, and the insulin resistance is gone. So that's kind of, but are you finding now, 9 weeks or so in, that addiction is starting to waver, or do you still think it's a mental thing as much as a body requirement thing?
Oh, mental. Because I I was able to get over the addiction, and I did like sweets a lot, anything sweet. And the meat did help me kick that. But there's times now when I feel like, when I'm stressed or I'm tired or whatever, had a bad day at work, it was my vice. Like some people smoke or drink or do drugs, whatever. That was my vice. It was soothing. It released endorphins or whatever. I could come home and, eat a brownie or a cookie or have some ice cream. And I look forward to that. And so now I do have times where I still want that. It's a mouth thing, I want the flavor. And actually I had bought these sugar-free butterscotch candies, and I would pop one in my mouth, and I would just for a minute, and then I'd spit it out just to have that sweetness. And I did that at the very beginning, and I still lost weight, but I didn't really eat the whole thing. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, I think I'll always be addicted. It's like a drug addict. They're always going to be tempted, or an alcoholic. I'll always be tempted. I still, I miss it. And I've been trying to find alternatives. And I looked at, I think, allulose. and some other ones. I can't remember what they were, but they were high in carbohydrates. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It was like 8 carbs per teaspoon or something. I forget which one it
Really?
was. And stevia, I'm not real crazy about. It's got kind of an aftertaste, but I
Mm,
don't want to start using those until I'm totally at, my goal weight. And then I might try those. But for right now, like you said, when you have something sweet like that, it kind of triggers it. So, you want more. That's why I'm drinking 2 cups a day. And, I know that, but yet I still was doing it. So I've just got to buckle down. It's going to be a lifelong thing. It's going to be a lifelong thing. But because I feel so good doing this, I don't want to ever go back. So I got to keep working
mm.
at it. It's worth it.
The other thing that I've found personally was I increased my fat intake, and because of the fat intake, that actually reduced my requirement to have sugary things.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that. What do you do? Like what? What do you when you say you increase your fat intake?
Well, I cook a lot of things in tallow anyhow. If I do anything in the air fryer, like 25% mince, and I do it in the air fryer to make some little crunchy bits, I'll pull the fat back over the meat afterwards. And I go through, we get 250-gram chunks of butter, and I will literally slice up pieces of that, and I'll either put it on the food and eat it, or I'll eat it alongside the food. And I found that when I had, without getting too graphic, bowel issues, a bit of extra fat sorted that out straight away. But I found it my wish for sugary things. I think, and it's to do with the cholesterol that the brain requires. Your fat produces the cholesterol for you, that then feeds the brain, which then overrides that endorphin hit that you want from sugars and things like that. So, but that's a personal thing. That's not something scientific, but
Well, I'm willing to give it a try. Like I said, it's still hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that we have to eat more fats, because I'm thinking
yeah.
I'm trying to lose weight here. I'm trying to get rid of fat. Why would I be eating more fat? But, now that
Well,
we understand the science behind it.
well, the thing is, the body, that if you can get into, if you can get fat adapted, the fat that you eat, the body will use as ketones, or it will go straight to the bowel and soften your basically the waste. What little waste you do produce, because obviously with meat being so that you don't have to go every single day. And that was the hardest thing for me to get around. As I say, going back to your sugar addiction comments, because I'm really interested on that, because I did an explainer video about the 5 key addictions, and the fact that those 5 are all plant-based connected, from coffee, which is you've talked about, from tobacco, from drugs. So you think of the marijuana, the heroin, the cocaine, they're all plant-based products. Opiums, they're all plant-based products. Tobacco's plant-based, alcohol's plant-based, and then obviously sugar. And I believe, and it's my personal belief, sugar is now the biggest addiction facing nations now. And because of the indirect connections with sugar, obesity, heart conditions, all the various bits and pieces, I personally think that sugar addiction is now potentially the biggest killer. It just takes longer.
100%, 100% believe that. We're seeing it everywhere. They have managed to put sugar in absolutely everything. You go to the grocery store and you read the labels, and you will be amazed at what sugar is in and things it does not need
Yeah.
to be in. But it makes everything
Yeah.
taste a little bit better. And so you're going to eat more of the grains and breads and pastas and rices and all the just crap. And, it's so sad
And
because
you know why they use sugar, don't you? You know why sugar's not just because in the late 70s and early 80s, when the tobacco companies were getting caned about the being from a wonderful thing to have to being bad for your health, a lot of tobacco companies like Philip Morris, etc., bought food companies, and they used their expertise on understanding how addiction works, and they found what went into processed foods that would create that addiction, that endorphin buzz. And sugar and fat and oils and things like that were key elements. And that's what set us up for the last 50, 60 years of this processed food that's slowly killing us. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and so they're working hand in hand with big pharma, so, they're giving us all the sugar and stuff and making us sick, and so now we are turning to big pharma to make us feel better, so and everybody's on pills, let's face it. Everybody. It doesn't matter, young, old, they got you on antidepressants or anxiety medicines or diabetic or, high blood pressure, cholesterol. Everybody's on medication, and I've never had to be on medication, and I have 7 other siblings. 2 of them have passed away, but all of them, even my one younger brother, because I'm the youngest girl and then I have a younger brother, all of them have been on medication for either cholesterol or blood pressure, depression, anxiety. I'm the only one that hasn't. And we're all, in the same family or whatever. And it's because I won't take it. I'm like, I read that because my cholesterol at one time had gotten close to 200 and they wanted to put me on cholesterol meds. And it was like, no, I mean, I'll just, eat different or whatever. I'll bring my cholesterol down. But from what I read, people that take cholesterol meds, it extends their life by maybe like 3 days or something by taking, is like, is it worth it with all the side effects? It's a lifelong thing.
yeah, well, the statins are there is a role for statins. Let's be quite clear. There is a someone with certain condition needs statins, but 90% of people who are given statins don't need them. And high cholesterol, you will live longer with higher cholesterol than you will with lower cholesterol, and that is a proven fact. I'm not making this up. There's enough studies out there now that are proving that fact. So it just goes to show you the medical advice that you and I, we're a similar age group, have grown up with is totally flawed, and now new evidence is coming forward. It's just a shame I had to waste. I'd go, for 20, 30 years of getting to a sumo wrestler to before I realised I
Right,
needed to do
right.
something and get my
God, I
youth
wish I
and
would have
health
found the
back.
carnivore diet earlier.
Yeah, we all do. I think that's one of the most common things we all say between ourselves. But so another thing to talk about, I mentioned, is you're joining us for our live stream we're going to be doing around Halloween. We've got to finalise that, and not
Yeah.
well, we're over the moon. So
No, I'm
obviously,
excited. I
technically,
saw
we've
you
got a
got some
real
big
witch.
names in the
So
carnivore community, so I'm excited. How many people are there gonna be?
well, I'm there's going to be a panel of about 4 or 5 of us to take questions all the time, and I've got a number of people that can't spend the whole time, so they're going to be jumping in and jumping out. So we're trying to make it a bit of a fun night sort of thing. I've just recorded the trailer for it, which is might scare a few people, but it's just because I got bored the other night, so I decided to do that. So
Can we dress up?
yeah, but yeah, yeah, absolutely. You've got to dress up. That's the condition to be on the panel. So I'm not going to say what I'm going to be, but it should be good fun. It's a bit light-hearted, bit of fun. We're going to call it Trick or Meet.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
So
No, I'm so excited. I was so glad when George told me about it. I thought, oh, this is going to be so fun, and getting to talk with all these other, like I said, big names in the carnivore community, people that have been doing it for a while and are doing so well on it. Yeah, I looked up the other ones George told me about. I was like, oh, I can't wait to meet these people. They're all doing such wonderful things. And it's encouraging, because if I'm ever having a downtime, I can come to you and look at all these other channels, and there's just so much information out there. And like we keep saying, the people that are in the carnivore community are the best. They all are
yeah,
such kind, helpful people who feel good and just want to help everybody else feel as good. We're not here to debate. We're not here to tell you what you should do. Just we're sharing our experience and how wonderful it's been for us, and to let people know that the studies that tell you that you should be eating fruits and vegetables and less meat, those are flawed studies, and they have new studies, but it's going to be hard to change a lot of people's mindset at this point in time. So all we can do is be an example. I can't
yeah,
necessarily, I can talk to them blue in the face, but hopefully just by being an example, they'll see and they'll be like, I want to check into that. You look really good, or I can see it in you. You're energetic, you're happier. What's going on with you? And I have had that. I've had people ask me that, and I was like, well, let me tell you. Let me share with
That's
you
it,
what
and
I'm doing.
that's interesting because when I was 260, 270 pounds, nearly 20 odd stone, people weren't bothered about what I was eating. Then suddenly, because I went on carnivore, I lost. They all are concerned. Why are you losing
Right,
weight?
right. No, no, it's okay if you're eating the junk. At least they understand why you're overweight. But if you're losing weight, you're doing something wrong. There's got to be a reason. Yeah. People don't wanna, but like I said, I have had people say, "Wow, you've lost weight. What are you doing?" Or, I they notice my energy more than anything. I get people that notice that I'm more energetic, and it's like, I have 8 grandkids that I gotta keep up with, and I work, so I've got a lot going on. I don't have time to, just sit by the sidelines. I wanna get out there, I like backpacking and canoeing and doing all these things, and I don't want to have to worry about, breaking a hip and worrying about that stuff. And I think that's another thing with the carnivore diet. It helps you with your joints and stuff, because I had the stiff joints. Yeah, I don't have that anymore. I even used to have a hard
Absolutely.
time just like getting up off the ground. Like we'd get on the ground to do things and I'd be like, trying to get back up. I can just stand up like a normal human being without embarrassing myself now. So, and I was like, wow, well, that's new. So I'm constantly finding new things that I'm able to do that I just, you don't even think about. It's miraculous. It's like, it's reversing time.
Yeah, the two crazy things that I tell people that they can't get over that's happened to me. The first one is literally when I started carnivore, I was diagnosed with skin cancer, and my mum had quite a lot of skin cancer, being Irish background, etc. And I had 15 stitches in my forehead, and because of the depth they had to go to, the stitches had to be removed a week later. I went back to the nurse a week later, and she had a go at me for being so lazy and coming back late. And I said, "What are you talking about late?" She said, "Well, you're supposed to come back within a week." And I said, "It has been a week." And she did not believe me because the skin had
Um,
healed up so much. She actually had to cut some of the skin again to get the stitches out, and
My
she did
God.
not believe it, and it was because I was having bone broth and I was obviously eating a lot of meat. That the collagen levels that I had was obviously very high, and people don't believe I've had 15 stitches in my head. There's a couple of
Yeah.
videos in my back catalogue that you'll see the stitches in there. And
Wow.
the other weirdest thing that I had is my feet shrunk 2 shoe sizes, and that's
Really?
inflammation. Yeah, so I
That
saved
makes
myself. I
sense.
used to have to get my shoes made. And now
My
and now I can buy a
God.
standard size, so
Isn't it crazy? I think we need to make a list of all the things everybody should, I'm gonna start writing down because I notice stuff, but it'll be like days after, it's happened, and I'll be like, all of a sudden, like the leaky eye. I didn't notice it right away. I just all of a sudden I didn't have it. Or, my knee pain, it just up and went away. And it's, been well, I noticed I after 2 weeks that stopped hurting, and I'm almost into 9 weeks. I kept waiting for it to come back because it was that bad, and still nothing. I have no pain. But yeah, the dry skin, it really has an impact on our skin. And let's face it, as we get older, that's where we need help,
yep,
the sagging and, all that stuff. And so I was taking collagen. I was putting that in my coffee even before this because, I thought, oh, I need to do something because I'm not one for plastic surgery, but I live in Southern California. Let me tell you, everybody does, and so it's like, I got to do something. And this has been, I feel like, ladies, instead of going in and getting Botox, you need to try this. It's way cheaper and a lot easier and less invasive. But yeah, it's been so helpful with just my skin conditions. I don't have my feet aren't as dry. I don't have the dry patchy skins. I don't have it in my hair. It's good for hair growth. And yeah, a lot of people talk about hair growing back, and mine was thinning as I get older, especially on top. And I see a lot of gentlemen saying that they, had literally shaved their head because it was thinning so bad they were going bald, and now it's growing back. And I thought, well, that's
yeah,
pretty incredible, isn't it? I mean, even if
yeah,
you don't want to do this for the health benefits, just for pure vanity, you'd be surprised at what it does. So, but no,
brilliant.
the health benefits have been absolutely amazing. And I'm sure doctors hate it.
Well, healthy people don't make money. Healthy people don't make business money.
Right. That's it. That's the bottom line. So they're going to tell us, no, 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 quit doing that. The only concern I have, because I don't understand it yet, I know you guys have all tried to explain it and it's going over my head, is, the whole cholesterol thing. Because I know when I go in, my cholesterol level is probably going to be up, but there's good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. I got to be prepared before they hit me with that. Uh-oh, we're going to have to put you on meds, because I know that's going to be the first thing they're going to want to do if that's the case. But I know my blood pressure is spot on. I don't have any
Yeah.
issues with that. It hasn't affected that. Some people said it did, very few.
The old cholesterol hypothesis comes from Ansel Keys in the 1950s and 60s, where he came out talking about one of your presidents that had a heart attack. And that he said it was due to his high fat diet cholesterol. The fact that he drank a bottle of spirits a day and he smoked like a trooper had nothing to do with it at all. It was all, and he influenced what we now know as the medical advice to do about high cholesterol. Where now it's been proved that yes, obesity is an issue, but it's the insulin resistance is the issue that creates the obesity, which puts the pressure on the body, and then it's stress, and then it's things like smoking. You get a combination of those, and then you've got a possibility of a heart issue and all that. But high cholesterol on its own will not kill you. And and that's not on me, that's on research that's out there. There's loads of information out there. In my channel, I've referred to books and all sorts. You need cholesterol to create the hormones that your body needs. Dr. Kiltz is a classic one. He'd rather call it the carnivore. He'd rather call it the fativore diet, because he thinks it's the fats that you need more than you do as the meat. But the meat does give you the nutrition. But
Oh,
so
okay.
that is changing. The community is people are waking up to it. But you're right. There's still people that are stuck in the old doctorate, the old way of thinking, and unfortunately, we'll be at their funerals waving them goodbye.
Right. Yeah. Because like, as good as I feel now, I used to think, why would I want to live to be in my 80s? I'm going to be feeling like junk. I don't want to, be around if my quality of life is that bad. But now, as good as I feel, and I am feeling better each day, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see, what am I going to be like, in my 80s, which is
Mhm.
only 17 years away. But I feel like
Yeah.
if I continue down this path, who knows what I could be doing. So
Have you seen the rancher, which she's 87, 80?
I've
Yeah,
heard.
and you want to see her. She's as fit. She'd arm wrestle me to the floor. She is fantastic. She's been a carnivore 30, 40 years.
I wish I would have known that, because I had a vegetarian come on to my site and she told me, you will not see one carnivore that has done this long term, not one. And I thought, I know there has been. I've heard that there's been people that have done
Yeah,
this for 30, 40 years, but I didn't know at the
yeah,
time. I didn't know the names, but I knew I had heard of it. So I'll have to write her
yeah,
down. But yeah, she was saying that
yeah.
this is a trend, basically,
Maggie, her name is. Maggie is her name, I think. Yeah. So
okay, yeah, I need
phenomenal.
to look into her.
And Dr. Chafee, I don't know if you follow. I don't know if you follow Dr. Chafee at all, but he's the one that talks about plants are trying to kill you.
Yeah. But no, but I get the gist of it, because I was learning about oxalates. And boy, there's something to that too, because when I quit the oxalates, I noticed a difference from doing that as well. Because I was eating almonds and almond milk and spinach and kale and all the things that were high in oxalates. And I didn't even know what they were. I was totally new to that. I was like, what on earth? And so I thought, okay, I'll quit doing those. And yeah, I noticed a huge difference just with that. And I
Yeah.
think that had a big impact on the dry skin patches and stuff, because that's one of the signs that you're getting too much oxalate. So
Well, he believes the human body is capable of living to 120 to 140 years if it's on the right diet. And his theory is people that are on carnivore will live beyond 100s quite consistently. That's his belief, and I'm hoping that he's right because
yeah, well, I'll be around. Let's check in with each other.
indeed. Well, I'm fortunate because my mother passed away when she was 90. My father passed away when I think it was 93, 94. So I've got no excuse on the DNA front. So I'm hoping the carnival will get me past that stage.
Good for you. Well,
So
what was their diet?
we're
Do you know?
all young at heart. Sorry?
I said, what was their
Well,
diet like?
interesting enough, Interesting. My father used to be a fisherman, and he used to do a lot of wildfowling. So when I was brought up on, well, we say wildfowl, and some people call it poaching, but who's splitting a word? But we used to, I used to go to school with a pheasant sandwich and swap it with kids in school to get a crisp sandwich or something like that because we ate like kings there. We had fish and all that. So I'm the youngest of seven boys. My six older brothers are all still alive. They're all still alive. My parents got to their 90s. And it's only in the last 20 years or so that they really had ill health. My father, unfortunately, got diabetes. So went low fat and then ended up with dementia. Where my
Mm.
mother got to her 90s, was fit as a fiddle, but unfortunately, she had a stroke and passed away quite quickly. But she had a lot of issues with skin cancer. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm fortunate. My parents were in their mid 40s when I was born, and I had the opportunity to be 50 plus years with them. So, I see that as a fortunate situation. And yeah, but it'd be interesting to see, as we get older, who is living longer and what diet they're on, and who isn't living longer and what diet they're on. So proof will be in the proof will be in the history, let's say.
We're gonna find out. So, yeah, we'll have to make a pact to all meet up in 20 years and see where we're all at. Hopefully, we'll all still be doing
Absolutely,
it.
Dawn. Dawn, that's the perfect time to finish off. So, Dawn, thank you very, very much. I'll put a link to your channel. It's very honest and it's very straight talking. It's for people watching. It's the resting witch face, but I will put a link in the comments as well. It's a very honest. We've got another lovely lady, Sarah Carnival, and she's like you. She says it as it is. She is hilarious, and she's going to be on the panel as well. So
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, it's going to be good fun. So Dawn, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm glad you had me on.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
And please, if you've enjoyed this, both channels are available for people to watch, enjoy, like, subscribe, and let's all be happy carnivores.
Yay. Thank you.